Hi, everyone. Pleasure to be here. So we've heard some great talks around large language models, the future of large language models, how we can do RAG, how we can even do evaluation using RAG. Now we are having large language models which also act as judges. So one of the key aspects that we can foresee in the coming future is the need for a structure around AI ethics, AI regulations, and AI governance. So the estimated market size for AI governance in this year was 264 million, which is projected to grow up to 890.6 million towards the end of 2024. And in the next 5 years, the projected market size for AI governance is projected to go from 936 million to 5,700 million. So you see the amount of dollars and the amount of speculation that is going into the future of how would we append these AI systems into production going further. So last year, 2023, is when we started experimenting with large language models. Now we are seeing in 2024 when we deploy it. I work in a team which is called Expert Labs, which works specifically in productionizing all the different POCs that have been done by different companies and different clients. So I see this on a day-to-day basis, a chatbot going awry, giving out weird information, and then overnight, huge clients have to remove that particular chatbot from production because they're getting slapped by some $1 million lawsuits. There are different RAG applications in which the question that has been asked hallucinates. It is no longer relevant to the context. And they again have to rip it off overnight and go back to their legacy system because that was the one which is actually accurate and this one isn't anymore. So now that we see a lot of companies rapidly adopting the AI governance space, we feel the need to have something more streamlined, more structured, going forward. So why do we need it? So we see that these AI systems, they are being embedded into some critical sectors now, finance, healthcare. There are a lot of clients who are also very skeptical of actually putting it into production going further. So we have to make sure that we have some sort of responsible AI development that is going around. And we need to have a framework which can be assessed by a board or like several boards altogether such that everyone's comfortable using it. So you see that a lot of these sectors have these critical concerns, which are around bias, transparency, explainability. And we have different companies who are also getting onto this race. We are living in San Francisco. We are here right now. I'm pretty sure, and I know a bunch of companies which have actually gotten onto creating startups around this entire space now because of seeing the amount of traction that we see in taking a particular AI use case to development. So what are these AI frameworks that we are seeing? So some of these AI frameworks consist of principles, some policies, and procedures that are needed to guide that entire development of these AI systems. So if you look at principles, we have principles based on AI use case. So let's say you have a use case around RAG, or you have summarization, or you're doing even classification. You want to make sure that the output that has been spitted out is fair, it is transparent. You actually know what went behind in training that large language model, or what was the result. How did you validate that result? Was it using a ground truth that your company or your client already had, or did you synthetically create a ground truth, and how valid was that ground truth? We have so many different policies and regulations in this place. Now we have different states, different countries, which have their own acts, which have their own regulations, which have their own policies. And none of the clients or the companies can go into production until and unless they've ticked every particular mark in that entire workflow that is mentioned. So that is something that I'm seeing in a day-to-day basis. I see different clients, be my company or be different companies, even where if I'm consulting with someone, there is always an audit person in that entire room, because no longer is this data science space only about ML engineers or data engineers. It's about the finance team being involved, because why did you use a huge model which had like X amount of tokens, and Y amount of dollars associated with it. Why couldn't you go with a smaller model? It is blowing up my budget this quarter. Then we have the marketing team involved as well, because the marketing team is like, okay, now we have to market it to a particular sector. Your output is so not relevant to all the sectors. So how do we make sure we are looking across and panning across all of these different sectors that we have? And then we also have the legal team, of course, sitting right there. We're trying to make sure that the data is relevant. It doesn't contain any PII. It doesn't have any HAP, which is hate, abuse, profanity, and rigorous amount of drilling of each of the different ML engineer or a data scientist who's involved goes into this process. And then we have procedures. So we have these detailed instructions that are written to implement such procedures for such as data validation and model testing purposes as well. So the increased use of AI in these sectors has caused this concern around bias, transparency, and accountability. So how do we make sure that we are mitigating some of the bias? So we have to ensure that the data that we are using to train these models is accurate, complete, and unbiased. So I know that a lot of people, a lot of companies, clients, they resonate really well with you if you show them that this is the data lineage, this is what we trained your model with, and this is how we are utilizing a large language model to train that model, and this is how the output is created. So as long as you are able to validate their entire process for them, it's easy for them to understand the entire domain. Then comes as bias mitigation algorithms. So there are multiple available out there. You can create your own custom metrics also. I see that a lot happening nowadays. Companies creating their own custom metrics to make sure that they are mitigating bias in their systems. Again, I heard a lot of people talking about adversarial debiasing and blindness as well. That's something that we have to do. And then model interpretability, using techniques such as SHAP and LIME in explainability. So all the different tools and platforms which are out there, which are doing explainable AI, they use different techniques. And I feel SHAP and LIME are the most easily interpretable. There are graphs that you can show which particular feature is leaning more towards this particular result. What are the features that are more dominant in making that particular decision? So that is extremely important in this process as well. So we need fairness metrics. I'll give you an example that I was working with one of the use cases. I can't speak about the names, but they had come up with a particular chatbot, which went into production. It was for a huge financial firm. And the results that it was spitting out, even if you give it the same question on the same information, but the person, there are two different people, a male and a female, and they asked the same question, the answers that were coming out were quite different. And so that is because no one knew before going into production that there were some prompt engineering techniques or fine-tuning techniques or validation techniques that they should have followed. Everyone just wanted to jump on the Gen AI train, and they were failing miserably in making sure that their models or their products were fair in their process. So we have to make sure that we're ensuring that the probability of a specific outcome is independent of that demographic group that we are using. We are making sure we have equalized odds for all the different positive or the true positive rates across different demographics. And then calibration as well. So you're making sure that the predicted probability of each of the result that has been given out is actually true to the ground truth that you're also providing. And human oversight and review. How much ever anyone says, at least in 2024, 2025, that a large language model can solve everything, I would always agree to disagree with that. I agree that it can do like 80%, but 10 years down the line, maybe I agree 100% of it might be automated, but there should be some sort of human oversight and review, have some sort of validation, documentation, procedures which are added to the end of your workflow before taking a large language model into production. Make sure that you are reviewing the essential components of the entire process that you have. You're making sure that there are regular reviews of the AI systems that you have created. There is some sort of human intervention to overview or monitor these AI systems that are available. And also a fair collaboration between an AI and a human, till we are all confident about the kind of results that are spitted out. Also, when I speak about we are all confident, I also speak about things such as the different metrics, such as hallucination, the HAP filters, the quality metrics, the fairness metrics. Until and unless all those metrics have reached a particular threshold and they have been living in that particular threshold that you've mentioned for a particular amount of time, that stipulated amount of time based on your use case, until unless that doesn't happen, I would be very awry without having any LLM system in production without any human oversight. So there are explainability techniques. There are companies who doing explainable AI as well. And they help you understand how these AI systems can make these decisions, which are so useful in creating trust in the systems. So we have interpretability techniques that help you understand how these AI methods can be, how these AI large language models are spitting out results. You can do feature importance, you can do feature engineering, all the code that you used to write to do any sort of feature engineering, plug it into a platform and make sure that you're showcasing it to till a particular large language model goes into production. Make sure you have the partial dependence plots as well. Use techniques such as SHAP, LIME. There are many others available out there to do any sort of explainability. And also transparency. So there are model interpretability and model explainability techniques that you see over here. But when you show lineage and validation metrics or the success metrics that you used to decide why this language model or any other multimodal model has gone into production, make sure you're showcasing all of that in your production environment deployments. And then make sure that, how do we make sure that the models that are there, they are robust and secure? So there are different aspects to it as well. We see a lot of companies and a lot of clients facing data poisoning issues, any sort of adversarial attacks that they are doing prompt injections. And there are techniques in which, because of all of these things, the data and the way the information is being spitted out is actually getting much, much worse with time. And the amount of time that it takes to spit out a result is also decreasing. So there are, again, companies and there are, again, tools which help you do that. So whenever there is a prompt injection that has been injected in your prompt, make sure you have prompt versioning. Make sure you have a prompt lifecycle management that goes around, so you know that this is when a particular injection came along and this is how the results varied. These were the model parameters that were changed. These were the weights. If you're fine-tuning something, that changed as well. Make sure that the poisoning efforts that are taking place to attempt that, to manipulate that entire system. Again, if you have a workflow management tool in place, you will know the metrics which have gone awry over there as well. And robustness. So we may need to make sure that these AI systems are robust with time. So make sure you're seeing the API latency, making sure that the threshold that has been declared, how fast did it reach it or how slow did it reach it. So make sure all these techniques are also embedded into your systems. So when we look into some generative AI use cases, there are some benefits that we see in healthcare. One of the key sources where we've been using generative AI is healthcare. And we see that they can be used to personalize these treatment plans for patients, again, based on genetic profile and medical histories. And then if you want to do any sort of new drug discovery, it can help in the discovery of these new drugs by going through all these large documents of data, again, a RAG on these, all the data, legacy data that you have, and identifying any potential leads. And then you can also use it, doctors are using it to diagnose these diseases much more faster because you have these trends and patterns which are already ingested and it's very easy to pick up. So one of the things that I want to tell you when I was doing a generative AI use case in healthcare is something on the page of like new drug discovery. There was a new drug that was supposed to go live and they wanted to see which particular sector of people should they market it to. Again, when you use legacy data, it was giving out better results. But then what we started doing is we started generating synthetic data because we wanted to do it for another geos. and not just North America. And we didn't have enough information for those geos. So we generated synthetic data, and then we were trying to see whether that particular drug could be marketed to those particular sector of people. Wasn't always giving the best results because, again, the data we extrapolated, we didn't see whether it was fair, unbiased, etc. It just picked up on one particular group and kept generating synthetic data based on that. So we wouldn't have been able to see any of that had we not had any of our metrics or quality metrics in place over there. So a governing platform and how important it is something that I saw when I was doing one of these use cases. So what are the key considerations when you want to implement generative AI? So make sure you have clear, defined objectives. You've chosen the right model. In this time and age when on Hugging Face, you have like a model every second I check. It's not, I feel when I was writing this, I was like quite controversial, shouldn't write this. But when I say choose the right model, maybe choose a smaller model, fine tune it with your domain specific data, and then create that particular specific use case. Make it your own, whatever model works for you. That should be the one that you use, and don't go experimenting with models where you're not sure about where that data came from and you're not sure what type of data it is trained on, right? And even if you're training it on some synthetic data, make sure that the synthetic data that you used is fair, unbiased, and has the right quality metrics. Ensure that the data that has been trained is of high quality and it is relevant to the use case. Using like medical data for financial use case is not going to work. And then consider the ethical implications. So make sure you have governance policies in place. Make sure everyone, the ethics board and the legal board is with you on the same page. Because if it is not, sooner or later, it is going to blow up, and you have to make sure that it doesn't. And what are the best practices for generative AI development? So you use open source models, because that's the way they have been vetted well. You have all these different metrics, again, which help you evaluate the right models. There are benchmarking tools available as well, benchmarking thresholds that you can utilize. Again, open source is a great way to even collaborate with different people. So collaborate with the experts. Till date, if I see a particular model, be it IBM or outside, and if I'm fine tuning anything, I would go look at some benchmark MMU or whatever available, and then I'll go and find who posted that, and I'll try talking to that person. Make sure that you have everything that you need in place and you are confident about it. Test and validate it. I cannot emphasize how useful this is. If I create a large language model in IBM, like for me to go through legal, it will take me at least 8 months to a year. No one is going to approve it at all without me like being confident about it and them being confident about it. So make sure that you've tested this and validated it, and continuously monitor and update. We have our own governance tool. I have to send logs that this is how I monitored it, this is how I validated it, and these were the logs that I validated against. And again, this process came after years and different geos that we tested multiple things in. So quite confident this should work, how much ever time it takes. And how do you measure the success of generative AI? So you measure it by the return on investment to determine its financial impact 100%. Every fly that's on a wall, you don't need to kill it with a bazooka. If a large language model is doing a good job, great. But if it is a legacy system which is doing a greater job, then till you reach that accuracy or till you're confident about that, don't jump the ship just yet, which I see everyone wanting to do it. And then establish these KPIs to measure the success metrics, accuracy, efficiency, and customer satisfaction. Efficiency and customer satisfaction, again, one of the most underrated KPIs that I see that people are seeing nowadays. And then collect the customer feedback. The number of times I have been able to make better improvements in the systems that I have built is only like it has only been greater if I've had customer feedback. If I keep talking to the people that I helped to build, we are not going much above and beyond. If the customers give you information back that this is what is going wrong, this is the test use cases that it's failing in, incorporate that, and that is the golden nuggets that will be used for. and the future of generative AI. I know many people spoke about this, so I'm not going to go a lot deeper into it, but you're going to see more and more increased adoption, advancements in technology. People are going to continue to improve the accuracy, the efficiency, trying to make it much more usable in production. And then you are seeing new and new applications like with multimodal emerging, such as in the field of art, music, entertainment. I see many creators getting much more comfortable with using it.